What's happening, YouTube? So in this video, I'm going to be showing some of Risk4Ever's 1 vs 1 games in the 5A-side tournament, aka StoveTopped. The strategy for France is you want to capture the outside territories so that it's difficult for your opponent to capture all of your territories in a single turn without having to split off their troops. By picking the very outside territories, what you're effectively doing is disconnecting your troops and territories, which makes it very difficult for your opponent to capture all of your territories in a single motion without having to split off their troops unnecessarily and weakening their big army. Now, Risk4Ever did something unique on his turn. Instead of actually placing all of his troops on the territory which will become his capital, he put it in a different territory on the western half of France because that territory has access to every territory on the map except for one territory in northern France, which is why Risk4Ever used deployment troops in order to capture the territory in northern France, and then captured 2 regions on his first turn, and fortifying his troops back to protect his capital against AKA. On AKA's turn, he tried to repair the damage done by Risk4Ever by recapturing those territories. However, he actually lost the 6 against 3 blitz roll, which is around 80%. So that was quite unlucky of AKA. On Risk4Ever's turn, he's trying to build on his lead by capturing many territories. And as you can see, his army on his capital is already quite bigger than AKA's army. So basically, on every single turn, Risk4Ever is capturing multiple territories, conquering different regions across the map, and AKA has to continuously invade him and break through his bonuses, or else Risk4Ever will become much more powerful over time. And already you can see that AKA only has around 15 troops on his capital, while Risk4Ever has even more than 20 troops. So on his turn, Risk4Ever's advantage is slowly building over time, because each time AKA has to waste his troops invading Risk4Ever into his continents, it slowly weakens his capital further and further, while Risk4Ever has the ability to build up his advantage, and gradually over time he will be able to overpower AKA, and eventually he will be able to actually blitz AKA's capital for the victory. So this is already past the first 3 rounds of the game, which means that if he wins the attack, the capital attack, then Champion will end up winning this game. The percentage chance on this is 92%, and Risk4Ever didn't want to take that chance because there is small chances that he would lose. So he wants to guarantee 100% chance to win. And being that he had a set at 3, Risk4Ever went for the 100% chance and actually won the attack. So at this point, Risk4Ever is winning 1-0. Going into match number 2, from AKA's perspective, we are playing on Simple World Capitals. In this game, Risk4Ever is going first, which means that he chose to go for mainland Europe on his capital. To counter the strategy, AKA smartly placed his capital on Russia, but he actually split off some troops in North America so that he can try to capture that, and then hold it with only 2 borders. Risk4Ever actually chose to put his army in Brazil, thinking that AKA was putting his army in South America so that he could get a very easy attacking advantage and secure his victory. However, this was not the case, and Champion actually decided to split his troops and then fortify some troops back to his capital, but only part of his troops so that he could try to defend South America better. So as you can see, he actually fortified back 17 troops to defend his capital, and now he has some troops defending in South America. However, AKA correctly chose to break through with his big army, and that was a really smart choice to actually split his troops like that, because had he put his entire army in Russia, then he would be blocked from accessing South America, because then his army would be way too small to blitz Risk4Ever into South America. In a last-ditch attempt to get things going for him, Risk4Ever actually decided to manual roll the 9 against 11. This was his last chance to break through into North America and get any hopes of coming back, but he was unsuccessful, and on AKA's turn, he's actually getting 9 troops per turn. So now all he needs to do is fortify the North America border better, and then make sure that his capital isn't too weak, and also make sure that he correctly invades Europe. At this point in the game, Risk4Ever doesn't have any other choice but to try to blitz the capital once the first 3 rounds of the game are over. So in order to prevent against that, all AKA needs to do is to make sure that his capital is so big that it's impossible for Risk4Ever to win this. So Risk4Ever turned in a set for 4 troops and then blitzed the capital in his final attempt to win this. However, the chances of that working out are pretty low, so he ended up losing that attack, and the series is currently tied 1-1 apiece. In Game 3, we are playing on classic capitals. This time, AKA gets the opportunity to go first, and he is correctly choosing to put his capital on North Africa. As you can see, he captured it very early on his first turn. In order to counter the North Africa strategy, Risk4Ever put his capital on the Middle East. AKA needs to be careful where he picks his territories, because he needs to make sure that there is no way that his capital will ever become blocked, because if that ever happens, then Risk4Ever will get a very good advantage, even though he's going second, because then AKA won't be able to capture as many territories as possible, being that his army would be blocked. So on this turn, instead of choosing Ukraine, AKA chose China, and if he had chosen Ukraine, then his army in North Africa would have actually been blocked from Asia, so that was smart of him to choose China, so that he can go through Europe if needed. Now in the deployment stage, AKA did something very interesting. He actually chose to split his troops a lot, splitting his troops in North America, Asia, North Africa, and even Australia. Risk4Ever also did something unexpected. He actually decided to split his army. Instead of putting everything in the Middle East, he actually decided to split his troops, placing half of his army in Australia, which was really surprising. But it was also smart, because had he put his entire army in the Middle East, he would have been blocked from Australia, because his territory on Siam makes it impossible for Risk4Ever to invade Australia with his capital if all of his troops were on there, unless he used deployment troops. So that was smart for him to split his troops like that. At this point in the game, the players are currently fighting over Australia, and Risk4Ever actually invaded AKA into North America. However, AKA is actually getting 9 troops per turn, which he uses to invade Risk4Ever into Australia, and then take some extra territories in North America. At this point, AKA actually decided to manual roll the 6 against 8, and then after losing both of them, he just backed off of that and then fortified his army into North America as kind of a launch point to attack from on the next turn. On his turn, Risk4Ever used all of his deployment troops, placing them in Australia and then capturing territories inside Asia. And then he actually chose to fortify those 4 troops back to try to defend Australia. And on AKA's turn, he actually placed 9 troops in Asia and then was able to successfully capture all of North America. And then he captured many territories in Asia in order to limit how many troops Risk4Ever will get on his turn. So even though he's holding Australia, he's still only getting 9 troops per turn, which he used to invade AKA into North America. But he made sure that his capital wasn't too weak, which is why he fortified back to the Middle East. However, at this point in the game, Risk4Ever's capital is actually fully blocked in the Middle East, which means that it's going to be very, very difficult for him to come back in this game, if not for something miraculous. And the reason I'm saying that is because at this point, AKA has the troop lead, the territory lead, and it's going to be very difficult for Risk4Ever to do anything because, like I said, his capital is completely blocked from the rest of the world. And he actually ended up losing the 2-against-1 to invade South America. At this point in the game, everyone, including the players and the people watching the live stream, probably thought that the game was over because all AKA needs to do is to properly defend his capital, capture multiple territories of Risk4Ever, and make sure that he doesn't unleash his big army so that Risk4Ever doesn't have any chances of winning this. You should never count out ChampionEver in any situation, but pulling off a victory in this situation is going to take something extraordinary because he's barely even able to break through North America, much less deal any damage to South America or his capital. Champion is even saying good game and well played, and he doesn't really think that he has much of a chance. So all that AKA needs to do is to make sure that he properly guards his capital, and that's exactly what he's trying to do. Not only does he invade Champion into Australia, but he also properly guards his capital. On his turn, ChampionEver turns in a set and then goes for the most ridiculous chance of winning, the 3% chance, by first doing some manual rolls and getting the most insane luck I have ever seen. So he just wins 8 in a row and then wins the blitz roll. You gotta give it to AKA though for playing that. That was superb play. It's just Champion came back and pulled the extraordinary victory. So now the series is 2-1 in ChampionEver's favor. Match number 4 is on Supermax Prison. This time Champion is actually going first, and AKA chose to place his entire army in the center of the map. To counter this, Champion actually put his army in 2 different places, in the bottom right as well as the top middle. And then he put his troops on the bottom right army in order to capture the bottom right with his main army. At this point, AKA can't really do much to invade the bottom right because he is completely blocked off from that territory. So hats off to ChampionEver for that amazing play, making it impossible for AKA to invade him into the bottom right continent. On AKA's turn, he didn't give up. He actually chose to capture the top right and then take territory in the top middle and then take some extra territory in the top left, fortifying his main army to the center of the map so that his army is not blocked. On Champion's turn, he used his troops from deployment in order to blitz AKA's main army and invade him into the top right region. And now he's doing a 1-on-1 manual roll in order to take that one territory and use his 5 troops to capture the final territory in the top right. At this point in the game, AKA can't do anything. He can't invade Champion into even one continent, much less both continents. And the game is over. Now it's up to Champion to finish cleaning up AKA in this game. AKA shows that he's given up by not even taking any more territories and finishing his turn. So now the series is 3-1 in ChampionEver's favor. In game number 5, the final game of the series, ChampionEver is going second on Simple World, World Domination. The strategy for going first on World Domination in Simple World is placing your 30 troops army on a territory which has access to every single other opponent territory on the map, which means that you need to make sure that all of your opponent's territories are actually fully connected so that you can actually attack them, because if they are not fully connected, there is a possibility where player 2 can hide their army somewhere in the map where it's impossible for you to attack them. If that happens, then player 2 will actually get the advantage of attacking your army first. However, AKA was not successful in trying to make Champion have only one place to put his army, because Champion has actually several places where he could hide his army. And at this point in this game, in a world domination situation, it is a prediction game. You need to try to predict where your opponent is placing their army, and then put your army right next to theirs to get the attacking advantage. Because in this situation, Champion has actually several places where he could theoretically put his big army. He could put it in North America, Europe, Africa, or even in Australia or South America. The main point of this is Champion's territories are not all fully connected. There are some disconnections where he could look to hide his big army. So when it is finally AKA's turn to place his big army, he decided to put it in Russia, while Champion actually put his army in Africa, meaning that Champion will actually get the attacking advantage on the big attack. At this point in the game, AKA made the biggest mistake, which was actually splitting his troops into 2 armies, 2 smaller armies, instead of 1 big army, which allowed Champion to get the best blitz rolls, losing only 5 against 10 and 18 against 21. At this point, the game is fully over, because now all Champion needs to do is properly defend North America, and AKA can't do anything because he only gets 3 troops on his turn. On his turn, AKA captures Australia, and then tries to invade Champion into North America, but the chances of that working are really low, so he actually doesn't end up winning that. And at this point, the game is over, because Champion invades AKA into Australia, fortifying his troops back into Asia, and AKA quits and Champion wins 5-1.